Good morning. Happy Friday to you all. I'm Jay Clifton Payne. Thank you for being a part of things you might have heard for today, Friday, September 23rd, 2022. And thank you for being part of the show because this may be the last show ever for all of us. We'll get to that towards the end of the newscast, if you will. But thank you so much for being a part of the show for today. We live, or at least the show internet stuff lives, at the website that is called this is a competitionproject.com. Stop by there for more details about what you can do to help keep things going, if it's even worth the effort. And, of course, the other things we've done in the past and the things we may do in the future, if that is worth it as well. I like to say this newscast, this video or podcast audio, if you're listening that way, is a tertiary source of news, a way to get more news details that you probably would miss in the mainstream media, even though a lot of people are news junkies. There's a lot of chances where the big stories that overtake things, including that big old picture of Alex Jones in the front, overtake everything. And so we're glad you're here for us here as a part of, your news side piece, if you will, because we give you that news that you're missing from your main squeeze. That is Anderson Cooper. Now, let's get into some of that news right now. One more time, main website is thisisaconversationproject.com. You want to get ahead of us, you can go there or look for the feeds and get a kind of jump what's going on. Let's right now get into the news for the day. 10 stories to get to you, your day story for your coffee chat. Let's start off with this one. The big one, the big guy. Alex Jones takes stand in defamation trial over his false Sandy Hook shooting hoax claims. This was just as glorious and bigly frustratingly awesome as one would expect if you had a chance to watch some of it. It was a televised event. Unfortunately, I was busy, so I couldn't watch it live, but I got to watch a good bunch of clips afterwards. And it was as bonkers as one would expect from a guy like Alex Jones, who's did some of the weird sort of public mea culpa, just apologizing and like saying, yeah, this isn't a hoax, we shouldn't have did this. And then he goes on the stage and just kind of bitches, complains, and states his grievances all trial day long, turning into picking fights with people asking questions, getting multiple objections that are being ignored, being admonished by the judge over and over and over again. Essentially being Alex Jones, doing everything but, flexing and pulling out a bottle of supplements to sell on the stand. It's pretty much like the show. In fact, the judge a few times says, remember, this is not a press conference. This is not your show. Although he played it up like his show. Right now, Jones is on the stand at trial to see basically how much money his company will have to pay for the defamation lawsuit. Essentially, it's done. They say, it's all in the books. We just need to see just how bad of a person he is. And so while he's making a whole lot of money by being defiant in this case, there'll be a bunch of money paid for this thing going forward. In fact, we hope it ends quickly because just the pain and suffering of the families and just people who have to relive this thing in general, again, with this jerk face, is just ridiculous. Let's hope this thing is done quickly. Let's hope he had to pay a whole lot of money. Let's hope something happens and a meteor strikes him so we can stop making money, because it's the amazing thing that people like that, I can barely get a forum, but somebody like this is pulling over bank, and we're the same freaking age. It's ridiculous. In Hannity interview, Trump claims he can declassify documents even by thinking about it. Speaking of jackholes, Donald Trump did an interview with Sean Hannity the other day and tried to talk his way out of his Mar-a-Lago issues, saying that the special master who said, okay, we need proof that you declassified this stuff. He's saying he doesn't necessarily have the proof because he can just kind of say, I mentally want this declassified. And then people just sort of assume that it's declassified because of his great mental prowess or his telepathy or his orange hair or whatever the hell it is. At some point, the level of stupidity has to be reached to a level, a threshold where everybody's got to say, all right, dumbass, this is it. We are done. This is over. No one can possibly have any belief in what you're saying. Reference back to the Alex Jones stuff, where people are still believing what he said, even though now he's saying he didn't mean it. Of course, he's also saying he was coerced to do it by some weird psychological hypnotism. It's amazing what people will fall for. And it comes down to regular people who will fall for, sales flyers and things like that. Oh, 99 cents per pound. I'll buy that rack of ribs, no problem. People will fall for things because people fall for things. But it's amazing just how far, how deep, and how dumb some of the things people are falling for. If you're believing this BS, you've got a problem and we need to talk. I don't think we can be friends. If you're believing this, we got issues. Let's move on to the next story before I start a fight here on the thing. KTLA fires weekend anchor Mark Mester over Saturday broadcast. This is something that seems like is more of a local LA, California thing. But this is an example, right or wrong, of somebody sticking up for a friend at work publicly, putting their neck out in line and basically getting that neck chopped off. That's what happened with the meteorologist, the weekend anchor, Mark Mester. I don't know if it was anchor or meteorologist specifically, but he's a weekend anchor at KTLA. And one of the main anchors, one of the main reporters of the week got suspended for something. No one really knows what they got suspended for, but she got suspended. And on the weekend edition, Mr. Mester basically said he was embarrassed by his station for pulling what they did. Not exactly mentioning what they did, what she did, just pulling her off the air. He was suspended and promptly fired. Go read the stories on this and see if this thing is something you truly, truly care about. It's in the feeds and it's in the range of stories that were conversational. So obviously people care about it. And this was really a top story. This was near the top of the range story. So it's just something people cared about. Maybe it picked it up on the West Coast and made it bigger than it is for the audience. But this is something to look into as well. Johnny Depp dating lawyer who repped him in UK Amber Heard defamation trial. Because Johnny Depp. That's all I got. Johnny Depp is still, in the relationship game and figured that, maybe this is a person that really knows him well because they spent time in court. This is a person willing to defend him because they spent time in court. And maybe he's getting a discount for his court fees. Who knows? That part is pure speculation. But Johnny Depp is now hitting the streets with the lawyer who defended him in the UK Amber Heard defamation part of the trials. Aaron Judge's 60-second home run ball, which of course will beat Roger Maris, will be more valuable than Albert Pujols' 700th home run ball, which is just a record in general. Memorabilia expert says. Very poor read. Apologies for that. But here is what a memorabilia expert is saying about what should happen in the next few weeks. Aaron Judge is at home run number 60, basically tying Babe Ruth. And Albert Pujols is at 698 or so for home runs on a season. Both of these things are remarkable. Of course, the 61 is the target to hit because that's an actual target that is a record's been there for quite some time. 62 would essentially, it may be just one number, but it will crush it. And of course, no asterisk needed for this one. And people believe that because of the long-standing nature of that 61 home run record, Aaron Judge's home run ball will be worth more than the 700 ball for Albert Pujols. Oddly enough, it looks like for both these men, most fans are essentially calling for the return of these great milestones. Aaron Judge's 60th ball was handed back to him the other day, and also Pujols' a 698th was handed back to him. So looks like the players and the fans are in simpatico with the stuff. They want the players to have these memorabilia, have these things, have the real deal, and not just have it sold on the market or sell it back to them. This is a good gesture by the fans, a great year for baseball, even if it's not exactly a stellar broadcasting year for baseball. But we are going to get a lot of fireworks when these things probably will happen before the end of the season. Let's move to Kanye West, who admits Sway had the answers 9 years after he went off during the interview. After Ye went off during the interview, I should say. So Kanye West asked Sway, why Sway? Why Sway? Why Sway? How Sway? How Sway? And Sway just looked at him wearing that big old hat thing, just like, because I'm Sway and I'm just here. Apparently, Kanye West is admitting now that Sway was pretty much absolutely right when he asked the questions and knew what the answers were. And as he dodged them, famously becoming a meme and a catchphrase, just being Kanye West and being kind of a jerk. There you go. Find out what the answers were that he had and why, Sway, why, by reading that link in the article in the description. There is currently a lot of unrest going on in Iran. There's plenty of protests, especially on the Amini protest specifically. A woman was killed by essentially their special police for being a woman. It's what happens down there. Just basically going against some of the morality laws. Morality police had a law. A woman defied them. She was killed. Protests are going on across the nation. Iran is blocking the capital's internet access and many other places as well to keep people from broadcasting protests and just reaching outside for organization process. It's something that they don't do here, or we should say they don't do it here yet, because we've seen a whole lot of things they didn't do here, done here for past 4 years prior to the 2 years we have guy in charge right now. So do not believe that the freedoms of the people and that the will of the people will actually always overtake, in a place like this, even the tyranny of a government, because we're seeing in real time in places where it happens, and we've seen in real time places where it shouldn't happen, where glimmers of it happening have been the case. 2 quick stories from universities doing really kind of crappy things. University of Utah student arrested for allegedly making nuclear threat if football team lost. He went nuclear because the Utes had a chance of losing. Think that's bad? UMass trolls conservative Liberty University by scheduling Pride Day for their game. Liberty University is a Christian college, Christian university, very famous for its stance and what it does. Extremely ultra conservative culture, if you want to. Evangelical white Jesus all day long. And UMass decided that the weekend for their game would be Pride Day because they can. And they did. Mississippi official pleads guilty in welfare scandal that includes Brett Favre. Just a quick blurb. Check the link out to see all the details in the story. But someone official in the actual state is pleading guilty to all these welfare scandal things happening in Mississippi that Brett Favre is wrapped up in. And this is just a quick reminder that Brett Favre is an actual jerk. We have a lot of those in the news today. Let's go to a teaser story for the weekend. This one is a pretty lazy one because it's pretty lazy and it may not be worth it anyway. We'll get to that in a moment. Apple Music to sponsor Super Bowl halftime show replacing Pepsi. So this upcoming season for the Super Bowl, while it's been the Pepsi halftime show and Pepsi's been pretty universal, Apple Music is going to be sponsoring the Super Bowl halftime show, which probably will limit some of the possible people who could do the halftime show. I don't remember if they've actually picked a halftime show person yet. But there are many people who don't like Apple Music, and we'll see how that works out as well, whether they'll pick up a big Apple Music star or they'll just kind of suck it up and deal with it because it's cash. I'm going to pull what suck it up and deal with it because it's cash. Right now, let's talk cash for the Conversation Project. We can use your cash, maybe. We'll talk about that in a second. But one of our main sponsors, one of our most pride and true and just honored sponsors is Zenny Optical. This is a company that I used years before they became a sponsor for any of my podcasts or any of my projects. And Zenny Optical is providing for me personally these right here and can provide for you for affordable glasses of all shapes and sizes for all faces of all types of prescriptions, levels, and technology for the lowest prices you can find online. Period. It's that way. Check them out, and you're going to compare them with all the sort of folks that you buy before, including those really famous people who I actually used to advertise in some of my things that will send you a bunch of glasses for $99 and make you send them back. You just order your glasses. You can do the little picture thing and try them on online. You can see how they look before you get them. You can get any sort of technology you want to. And if they're not good, just send them back. They'll send your money back just like that. Or they'll replace them with better glasses if that's what you want. Zenny Optical has taken care of me personally for a long time, takes care of my family with their eyewear needs, takes care of friends that I know, and they will take care of you. And they'll take care of us if you use this link here. This is theconversationproject.com/Zenny because it's an affiliate link. That means we get a couple pennies off your purchase, and it costs you nothing extra. Low cost, not cheap, low cost spectacles for you at Zenny Optical. Check them out today because time may be running out. We'll talk about that in a moment. Websites of note: The Conversation Project is homed at thisistheconversationproject.com, where you can find out more of our sponsors, more of our partnership opportunities, and just more things we're doing as they're at the website every single day when the days are here. Our feeds are on Facebook and Twitter. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and every 50 minutes we post a news story, more or less. A news story, article, a headline for you to engage in. Like it, love it, hate it, share it. The more engagement that the story gets, the greater chance that we get to talk about it. Tuesday through Friday, we talk about stories in the top 15. We get 30 to 35 stories within that range of time. So we pick from top 15, pull about 10. We're going to try to limit it to 10 because we got to get back to being pithy on these things. So we pulled from 7 to 11 and to stories to showcase here, which is what we already did. You go to those feeds and you get a chance to choose them by just engaging with the stories. Find us on the TikTok at The Conversation Project. Find us on YouTube and a podcast version for audio. You can go to YouTube, subscribe, and hit notifications so that you get the notification when we go live at 5:50 every single weekday morning. And if you just want to hear the yak but see less of the quack, I don't know where that came from. Essentially, the audio version of this thing comes down about 10-15 minutes after we're done recording this live in a live stream. You can get that in your feed by going to the podcast link at our website. Today things, which may be the last today things we have going on, include birthdays. Happy 73rd to Bruce Springsteen, who congratulations for the boss hitting 73 years old day. There were a lot of OG classic folks coming up today. This is one that we want to make sure we got in there. Happy freaking birthday to Captain Freaking America, Anthony Mackie. He is not just the Falcon or Black Falcon. He is Captain America, period. 44 years old on the day. Other great movies he's done as well, but he is the face, the man, the guy holding the shield in upcoming Captain America, which I believe is 4, New World Order. I think that's the 4th actual Captain America movie. And while he may or may not be the actual lead Avenger, he, of course, will be a main stage in the next upcoming Avengers franchise pit, whoever's in that. And comedian Hassan Minhaj turning 37 years old on today. Congratulations on that one. Today, we celebrate Great American Pot Pie Day. I'm going to say there weren't a lot of sexy, interesting things for today. They're in the list of things to choose from, but I love pot pie. Pot pie is a great dish. Pot pie is ingenious, if you will. And I, could eat pot pie or at least, the stuff inside of it on top of crust anytime it is provided. Summer, winter, spring, or fall. It's not a really better, easy, simple, and usually inexpensive meal than getting a nice thick pot pie, especially if it's got all the thick, juicy vegetables and the really thick soup inside of it, and the crust is perfection. So pot pie. Celebrate Great American Pot Pie Day. Probably won't be a lot of pot pies celebrated on this day. To be honest, pizza pie is what we're going to eat for dinner because it's Friday. But get yourself a pot pie if you can. Especially if you have a great local place that does a good pot pie. Check that out as well. Go to the store and get a bunch and put them in the freezer for later. That's good way to do that. Oh, this whole why is today the last day thing? Well, because Saturday is Doomsday, a hoax alleging that a catastrophic event, possibly a solar storm, will usher in the end of the world. Tomorrow, it's all done. The hoax stems from an August 2022 study by someone named Ali Al-Rubaldi, who claims a solar storm will strike Earth, leading to the end of our world. This guy's prediction is based on a mixture of, quote, scientific evidence and the Quran. So, not to knock the Quran or actual scientific evidence, but some dude has been going around for a few weeks saying the end of the world as we know it is tomorrow, which we've been before. But only one dude is saying this. This is something that's picked up a lot of steam. In fact, the first time I heard about this was literally this morning when I realized I didn't pick my out of the door fact and went back to the facts that were out there. And this is what came up. There's an awesome thing about dogs and then one about snoring as well that I could have went with that actually was interesting and you could have learned something from. But it doesn't matter because tomorrow is the end of the world. And I just want to give you, a little warning, give you a little notice. You're welcome. This has been things you might have heard, particularly for Friday, September 23rd, 2022, but maybe forever. And if it is, I want to thank you all for being with us for this fine journey of journalism, or not so fine journey of journalism, but the journey of journalism, if you will. This has been a true labor of love and not a big labor to make much money. So if tomorrow it's all over again, I guess I don't have to worry about the bills due for next month. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and write those checks going forward, just in case, and be here for you on Monday, or at least plan for Monday. We are posting news stories right now, so you can go ahead and engage in them. And if we don't die tomorrow, Monday morning, we'll come back and give you the best stories for the weekend. We want you to stay hydrated, stay limber, and stay on task for all the great things you have to do, even if you only have about 24 to 36 hours left to get them done. I am Jay Clifton Payne for the entire world, and for things you might have heard specifically on More Better Media LLC. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this. This has been a great week. A lot of things happening, a lot of funny stuff going on, a lot of Trump, a lot of Putin, because I guess. But we had a lot of fun this week. Let's do our best to hope for another one coming up next week, because I kind of like life and have not seen anything about any solar storms coming. So that's me. All right, we're out. Let's see you Monday morning.